Some sitcom catchphrases were not just punchlines, they were confessions hiding in plain sight. For years, audiences laughed along, never realizing those famous lines were secretly built around the actor's own guarded truths. Today, we're breaking down the gay sitcom stars whose signature catchphrases doubled as coded confessions and revealing one reveal at the end that recontextualizes an entire iconic character. Paul Lynde. Paul Lynde made it look effortless on Hollywood squares, but his timing carried a double meaning. When host Peter Marshall once asked whether a fairy or a pixie was generally better looking, Lynde lowered his voice and shot back, "Looks aren't everything." Audiences laughed at the joke. He was living the punchline. Born in Mount Vernon, Ohio in 1926, Lynde became the show's center square in 1968 and held that seat until the early 1980s, all while stealing scenes as Uncle Arthur on Bewitched. What set him apart was that the innuendo wasn't accidental. Writers crafted lines specifically for his persona, and he delivered them with full command of their hidden meaning. That's why exchanges like his humble fruit answer still land decades later. Friend and writer Bruce Valanche later explained how that coded humor was built into Lynde's specials, and critics have since noted he was slipping barely veiled references past network censors. Privately, his sexuality was an open secret in Hollywood, one he was rarely free to acknowledge outright. Heard today, his quips sound less like jokes and more like quiet truths, hiding in plain sight. Charles Nelson Reilly. Charles Nelson Reilly never waited for writers to set up the joke, he built it himself. On Match Game, he'd suddenly drop his voice, jab a finger in the air, and introduce his alter ego Chuck, an absurdly macho persona he insisted was very butch. The panel howled because the bit was so transparent. Everyone was in on it. That routine was really about performance itself. Born in the Bronx in 1931, Reilly had already won a Tony for how to succeed in business without really trying, before Match Game made him a household name nationwide. Early on, an NBC executive told him gay performers weren't allowed on air. His response was to appear on television roughly 2,000 times anyway, making that rule look absurd, turning rejection into a long, defiant career. He later said he never deliberately hid his sexuality, even as his persona pushed 1970s network limits with camp and double meanings woven into seemingly harmless comedy. He shared his Beverly Hills home with longtime partner Patrick Hughes III. Heard now, Chuck sounds less like parody and more like quiet defiance. Dick Sargent may have delivered the most personally loaded line on this list. Playing the second Darren Stevens on Bewitched from 1969 to 1972, he repeated some version of the same plea episode after episode. "Stop using your powers, act normal. Don't let the neighbors notice." The laugh was domestic comedy. The metaphor cut much deeper. Born Richard Cox in Carmel, California in 1930, Sargent spent years with a public image carefully shaped to appear conventionally straight. Studio publicity even invented a marriage that never happened, and magazines paired him with actresses to close the subject and move on, while his private life looked nothing like the version being sold to fans. That gap between performance and reality is what makes his story land so hard. Sargent later admitted he understood Bewitched's premise as a deeply personal metaphor. In 1991, facing a tabloid threatening to expose him, he chose to come out first publicly in Los Angeles, on National Coming Out Day, October 11th. He said telling the truth brought him more satisfaction than any role he'd played later, calling himself a retroactive role model and serving as Pride Grand Marshal alongside Elizabeth Montgomery. His famous line was never really about magic, it was about hiding. Hayden Rourke. For 5 seasons on I Dream of Jeannie Hayden, Rourke played Dr. Alfred Bellows, the NASA psychiatrist endlessly convinced that something very strange was going on with Major Nelson. Bellows was always suspicious, always circling the truth, and always wrong about the specifics. That running gag takes on new weight once you know the man playing him was quietly guarding a private life of his own. Born William Henry Rourke in Brooklyn in 1910, he'd already built decades of stage and screen credits before Jeannie premiered in 1965. Years earlier on the 1953 film Project Moonbase, he met director Justus Addis. The two stayed partners for roughly 4 decades. Unlike some of his peers, Rourke wasn't deliberately coding double meanings into his lines. The irony here is simply how closely his catchphrase mirrored his own life. Co-star Barbara Eden later confirmed what audiences never knew at the time, writing in her memoir that Rourke was gay, had a longtime partner, and once hosted her in the home he shared with Addis. Rourke himself never made a public statement. Those close to him simply knew. Heard today, Bellows insisting something strange was afoot sounds almost like dramatic irony. A man devoted to exposing someone else's secret while quietly, gracefully keeping his own. Raymond Burr. No one on this list built a more elaborate cover story than Raymond Burr. On Perry Mason, he made his name with forceful cross-examinations and the promise that the truth always surfaced by the final act. Off-camera, he constructed an entirely different narrative, inventing a wife and a son who never existed, details that journalists repeated for years as fact. Born in New Westminster, British Columbia in 1917, Burr became a household name through Perry Mason, 1957, 1966, and Ironside, 1967, 1975. Biographer Michael Seth Starr later documented how Burr maintained these fictional family stories for decades, retreating behind claims of privacy whenever reporters pushed further. The relationship he never discussed publicly was with Robert Benavides, his partner for roughly 35 years, whom he met through work connected to Perry Mason and who later inherited his estate. That contrast is what makes Burr's story so striking. His most famous word, objection, was built on the pursuit of courtroom truth, while his own survival in Hollywood depended on the opposite. Even gossip columnist Hedda Hopper, whose son William Hopper co-starred on the show, appears to have helped shield him from exposure. Burr kept working through serious illness until his death in 1993, having spent a public life controlling a far more personal case file. Jim Nabors. Jim Nabors built one of the warmest comic personas in television history. As Gomer Pyle on The Andy Griffith Show, and later Gomer Pyle USMC, he turned wide-eyed innocence into a catchphrase, golly, Shazam, and most famously, surprise, surprise, surprise. The line was written to capture astonishment. Over time, it became something more ironic. Born in Sylacauga, Alabama in 1930, Nabors saw Gomer Pyle, USMC, run from 1964 to 1969, across 150 episodes, becoming one of CBS's biggest hits. Within Hollywood circles, his private life was an open, unremarkable fact. To the wider American public watching him at home, it was anything but. That gap between insiders and audiences is what gives his story its lasting resonance, softened, eventually by neighbors choosing honesty on his own terms. In 2013, at age 82, he told Hawaii News Now that he had married longtime partner Stan Cadwallader in Seattle after 38 years together. He explained that as a couple, they'd had no legal rights, and after decades together, it felt like time to make it official. The two had met in 1975 when Cadwallader worked as a Honolulu firefighter. Heard again now. Surprise, surprise, surprise plays less like a punchline and more like the moment the public, not neighbors, finally caught up to the truth. Robert Reed. Robert Reed played one of the most reassuring fathers in primetime television, which is part of why his catchphrase carries so much weight in hindsight. Week after week on The Brady Bunch, Mike Brady would step into some new domestic crisis and announce a version of the same line, "Something is wrong here. This family has a problem," on the page that meant spilled milk and sibling squabbles. Off-screen, Reed was carrying something heavier. Born John Robert Reed Jr. in Illinois in 1932, he was a classically trained stage actor who frequently clashed with creator Sherwood Schwartz, pushing for the show to feel more grounded and less saccharine. Co-star Florence Henderson later said she felt compassion for him, sensing how much he was struggling, and believing his private life deepened his frustration on set. After his death, ABC News reported that Reed had kept his sexuality hidden throughout his life, and that his death certificate listed HIV infection as a contributing factor. He never came out publicly. Reed died in 1992 at age 59. Colon lymphoma was given as the public cause of death at the time, though later reporting reshaped how many viewers understood him. Heard again now. This family has a problem sounds less like a sitcom reset and more like a quiet coded ache running beneath the surface. Richard Deacon. Richard Deacon's irony is so dry, it almost slips past you if you're not paying attention. On the Dick Van Dyke Show, Mel Cooley served as the classic comedic foil, pompous, humorless, and forever the target of Buddy Sorrell's jabs. When Buddy needled him and Mel snapped back, "That's not funny, Buddy," it gave the show its rhythm and gave Deacon his disguise. Born in Philadelphia in 1922, Deacon became a familiar television face through Leave It to Beaver before joining the Dick Van Dyke Show in 1961. He once summed up his own on-screen appeal with striking precision, describing himself as a button-down executive-type suit and tie, establishment, nothing flamboyant. That self-assessment matters. It shows just how deliberately he understood the role Hollywood kept casting him in. Writers later examining gay history in sitcoms have called Mel Cooley the perfect straight man, then flipped the description by noting that Deacon himself was not. By most accounts, he kept his personal life private throughout a career built on projecting exactly the kind of buttoned-up normalcy the industry rewarded. That's not funny, Buddy works because Mel means every word of it. It lands even better once you realize Deacon spent decades perfecting that straightest possible image while quietly living outside the assumptions it was designed to sell.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new videos. See you in the next one.